Remember, we left off with the Gemara, again, going back to our original discussion about the measurement, so to speak, of an item that for which one would be chayav if they transferred it from one domain into another. Okay. One of the things, however, remember that the Gemara, or the Mishnah, but the Gemara particularly, has not focused on, which we will need to keep in mind, is that item significant? Does it have some importance for that person? Okay, so at some point, the Gemara is going to bring that criteria in as well, in addition to the question of its measurement. Okay, but for the moment, as we continue with the current Mishnah, we're still dealing with primarily measurement. Okay, but we see that the question leans or moves in that direction of what I'll call significance, because it's saying these items are used for a particular purpose. Okay, and if the amount is enough to satisfy that purpose, therefore it's significant. That's what says that it is, one would be over. So let's come back now to Tzadi Amud Aleph. Okay, we're 3 lines down on the Amud. Okay, as we continue, we'll finish up this Mishnah shortly and then get to another one. Another 2 actually. Okay, so here's our Mishnah, 3 lines down on Tzadi Amud Aleph. Klipe egozim. Okay, we said that was shells of nuts. These were used as fuel. Okay, or they were used to produce a dye. Okay, uklipe rimonim. Okay, and the husks of pomegranates, satis. Okay, or safflower. Upua or madder. Okay, again, these were plants that were primarily used for dyes. Kadei litzboa bagad beged katan. And we said it was enough to dye a small garment, and the size of the garment, we said, had to be like a woman's hairnet. Okay, or minhei, but we'll challenge this, namely with the following. Hamotzi simanin shruyin, one who was to transfer or carry out spices that had been soaked in water. Kedei litzboa bahen dugma le'ira, that it was enough, in other words, to create the dye, okay, in order to make a sample of the dye, to have a, let's call it well, it's sort of like a stopper for the shuttle of a loom, okay? A piece of wool that was used there, okay? In other words, that they would dye that piece of wool and use it as part of this equipment in the loom. Ha'it ma'ala, wasn't it said on this? Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rava bar Abuha. There's Rav Nachman in the name of Rava bar Abuha. Lafi she'ein adam torech l'shrot simamanin l'tzboa behen dugma la'ira. But on the other hand, someone else, as we said, Rav Nachman in the name of Rava bar Abuha, said that ordinarily a person doesn't trouble oneself, okay, to produce, to steep the dyes in order to make a sample color for such a small piece of wool, okay? Now, okay, so in other words, that's why we say that it's got to be an amount large enough to make this hairnet size for a woman, okay? Now we got to the detergents, okay? Mei raglayim, Tana, okay, a Tana tat, Mei raglayim ad ben arba'im yom, okay? That we're talking about use of urine as a cleansing agent, right? And basically, again, we're saying that in this case, um, it's got to be at least up till 40 days old. After that, it loses its vitality, so to speak. Neter, okay, natron, okay. Tana, Braita teaches. Okay, neter, alexandrite. It's a nitrate that comes from Alexandria, Egypt. Velo neter anpantarin, and not natron, not nitrate that comes from Antipatris. Antipatris was a city that was founded by Herod the Great in Israel, northern Judea, okay, and the quality was not as good as the Egyptian nitrate. Borit, okay, which is a kind of lye, right? Amar Rav Yehuda, Zechol. Okay, that's a kind, he argues, it's a kind of sand. Vahatanya, and wasn't a taught, however, on the regarding this. A borit vahachol. Elsewhere, a Braita talks about borit and chol, implying that they are not the same, but they're two different items. Elamai borit, but what do we say? What is this borit? Kivarita. It's more like a sulfur kind of item. Meitive. Okay? We'll challenge this, however, with a Braita. Hosifu alehen achal batzin v'ha'inun. Okay? If one was to added these two kinds of, let's call them plants for the moment. Okay? They are, again, one is ornithalgalum, the other is wormwood, okay? Again, these were used for dyeing purposes. Vahaborit, and again borit, vahahel, and aloe, ve'isal gadadcha, kibrita. And if you're saying this is what brita, what this, it's like the sulfur, kibrita, me'ita, b'shvi'it. Okay, would we say then that if it's like sulfur, if it's more like a substance like that, would we say that these would be included in that previous Braita as plant items that are subject to the law of Shvi'it, where we say that whether or not they can be grown, okay, Bahatnan. But isn't it taught on that, the following Mishnah? Zehaklau. This is the general principle. Kol sheyesh lo ikar. If the plant has roots, yesh lo shvi'it, then it's subject to the laws of Shvi'it. V'she'ein lo ikar, and if it does not have any roots to it, the plant, ein lo shvi'it, then it's not subject to the laws of Shvi'it, okay, of not being able to be grown or used in the sabbatical year. Elamai borit. So then what is this borit? Ahalo. It's a kind of aloe. Vahatanya, says the Gemara. But aren't we taught in another Braita? Vahaborit va'ahalo. Okay, that we mention it again, two separate items, which would imply they're two separate things. Ele tre gavne ahalo. But rather there are two varieties of aloe. Okay, let's get to the next example. Kimuya. Okay, this was Simoleon earth. Okay, Simoleon earth was a kind of, again, I want to call it mineral rough earth, coarse earth. Amar Rav Yehuda, this is Rav Yehuda, Shaluf Dutz. He says this was something that you would pull out and stick in, okay? By that, okay, it was a popular name because it was clumps of earth that you would use in this manner. Eshlag, okay. So now we have Eshlag, right? What's that? Gemara is going to ask. And by the way, notice that already by the time from the Mishnah to the Amoraim, okay, the names of some of these items could have changed. Also, okay, they could have had different names in Bavel than in Eretz Yisrael. Amar Shmuel, says Shmuel. She'iltinhu l'chol nechuta yama. He says, I asked around all of the seafarers, the travelers on the seas, right? Va'amruli shun'ana shemei. And they told me its name was shunana. It's a kind of seaweed. Okay? Umishtakach benukva de marganita. And it's found, he says, in those same places where there are holes, where there are pearls. Okay? Umafkele b'marza de parzila. And you have to take it out. This is by using a kind of iron nail or an iron skewer, okay, in order to scrape it out, okay, of these holes, right? So that gives us, okay, an example, right, of these items. Now, Gemara is going to proceed with the next Mishnah. And in this next Mishnah, okay, we're going to get into a little bit more complicated image, okay? Think of the following example, all right? You have a basket, and in this basket may contain different items. Let's say you have cucumbers, okay? Or say you have gourds or something like that. These items are, of course, long, skinny, could be, or long items. And therefore, you might ask the question, if I carry the basket out of my house and I put it down, okay? Let's say I put it down on my stoop, okay? Right? That is a good example, okay? But I put the basket is there. Now, yes, the entire basket, okay, has contents that may extend into beyond the stoop, into the Reshus HaRabim, but part of the contents of the basket are still on the stoop. Now, if that stoop is considered Reshus HaYachid, okay, what's the status? What's my status? Did I carry something out into a new domain and therefore I'm chayav, or not? Or let's say I don't have anything so large. I have something much smaller. Say I have mustard seed, okay? Do I say that all those individual mustard seeds form a single unit? Or do I say, no, those are individual separate items? So we're going to follow the Mishnah now. Right? It gives these kinds of questions. All right. Okay. Starting off with a basket or an item that is long. Right? Matnitin, says our Mishnah. Palpelet, a long pepper. Okay. Kol shehu, of any kind. Okay. Ve'itran, or let's say I have some tar or resin. Okay. Kol shehu, again of any kind, right? Minei besamim, I have a variety of perfumes, right? Uminei matachot, or I have a variety of kinds of metal, right? Kol shehen, of any kind, right? Regardless of the number of pieces, the quantity. Me'avnei hamizbeach, or I have pieces of stone, okay, from a altar, a mizbeach, afar hamizbeach, or I'm carrying out earth that was part of the altar, an altar made of earth, of ground, okay? Or let's say I have something else, makak sfarim, okay? I have scrolls that are moth-eaten, okay? Or makak mitpachotehem, or I have coverings for the scrolls, like Torah mantles, okay? That also are moth-eaten, kol shehu, of any kind, shematzni'in otan legunzan, that I have set aside, okay, these moth-eaten scrolls or Torah mantles, okay, in order to hide them. In other words, to put them in Geniza, okay, all right? By carrying these out into another domain on Shabbat, okay, the Mishnah implies that I am chayav. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, af hamotzi misham shei avodah zarah. Even if I were to transfer, okay, those kinds of vessels, utensils that were associated with using for idol worship, kol shehu, of any kind, shene'amar, as it says, v'lo yidabek biyadecha me'uma min hacherem. Why? Because the pasuk says that should not attach oneself to any accursed item to your hand. Okay, that's forbidden. Now, let's come back to our narration at the beginning. Okay, we said the first thing is, what if I carry out this long or large pepper? Okay, I think of what kind of English cucumber? I think long, right? Palpellet, kosher. Lemai chazia, asks the Gemara. This long pepper, what is it suitable for? Okay. The reach hapeh. Okay. In other words, one might use it to keep it in their mouth in order to cover bad breath. Okay. Ithran kol shahu. Again, we said basically the tar or the raisin, right? Lemai chazia. What's it suitable for? Let's seal chata. Okay, that is beneficial for migraine headaches. Minei b'samim kol shehem. Okay, a variety of spices of any kind, any amount. Tanu Rabbanan, says the Braita. Hamotzi reach ra. Okay, if one has some sort of bad perfume, bad smell, okay? Foul-smelling object. And I'm going to be using these perfumes then for medicinal purposes, like a deodorant almost, kol shehu. Shemen tov, kol shehu. Or I'm using good oil, okay, for whatever purpose, kol shehu, any amount. Argaman, kol shehu. Or let's say I'm using purple dye, kol shehu, in any amount, okay? All right, in those cases, right, I would be chayav. Ubetulat avarad echad. And even if it's a single rose flower, okay, that in that case, right, it also off an odor, right? It has a purpose, any amount of that one will be chayav. Okay, going on. Minei matachot, a variety of pieces of metal, regardless of the right number, kol shehen, of any kind, right? Lamai chazu, for what purpose? What's it suitable for? Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, the Braita says Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Shekein ra'ui la'asot mimena darvan katan, that one is able to make from this metal a small nail or a small pole, a goad, it's called, to push animals along. Okay. Tana Rabbanan. Okay. Another brighter. See? Omer Hare Alai Barzel. Okay. Or let's say there's a brighter that now gives a little bit of a digression and says, let's take, since we referred in our Mishnah to stones from an altar or earth from an earthenware altar, we digress a little bit. Tanu Rabbanan, says this Braita, Ha'omer Alai Barzel. Let's say someone takes an oath to bring a metal for the benefit of the Beis Hamikdash. Achirim Omrim Lo Yifchot Le'ama Alama. He cannot bring, okay, to satisfy this vow, a piece, okay, smaller than, okay, an amma or by an amma, okay? Maybe we're talking about a piece of sheet iron, okay? Something, right, amma ba amma. The mai chasya, what that's suitable for, okay? Amma Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, la kliya orev. That's suitable for the raven, let's call them spikes, okay, that were built on top of the base of Mikdash in order to keep the birds away, right? Ve'ikadam, right? And there are others say, Achirim Omrim, Lo Yivchot Miklaya Ore. And other phrases that, right, that it should not be less than the size of this raven barrier, this raven spike, right? The kama. And how much is that? Amar Rav Yosef, Amma al Amma. Says Rav Yosef, it is one Amma, a square cubit, so to speak. Nechoshet, if it's copper. Lo yivchot mimei kesef. It shouldn't be worth less than a silver mea, right? Tanya Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer teaches in a Braita, Omer, and says, Lo yivchot mitzinora. It should not be less than a hook, a kind of small brass hook, right? Mitzinora katana shel nechoshet. Okay, a small brass hook. Lamai chasya, what is that suitable for? Amar Abaye, shemechatatin ba et haptilot umekanachin hanerot. That this small brass hook is used in order to scrape out the wicks of the menorah and in order to clean the lamps themselves. Okay, going on. Makak Sfarim, we said, what about these moth-eaten scrolls? Makak Pechot, Mitpachat, and a moth-eaten, we said that's the moth-eaten like a Torah mantle. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, Makak Desifrei, okay, Tachaf, the Shiurai, okay, the moth or the worm that eats at the scrolls is similar to a silkworm, okay, Ve'ila da'anve, and it's also similar to the kind of worm that eats the leaves in grapes, grapevine, upa de ta'ane, and it's similar also to the kind of worm or butterfly that is involved in ta'anim, in figs. Vaha, the rimonai, and it's similar to the kind of bug, the mite or worm that affects pomegranates. Kulhu sakanata. All of them are dangerous. Okay, they're dangerous because if you were to eat one of these insects, if it was embedded in the fruit or the item, right? Now, says the Gemara, Hahu Talmida, the Haviyativ Kami the Rabbi Yochanan. There was a certain student who was sitting and before Rabbi Yochanan, right? Hava Ka'achil Ta'ene, and he was eating figs, right? Amar le Rebbe, and he said, right, Rebbe, Kutsin yesh b'teinim. There seems to be thorns in these figs. Amar le katle pa midim. Okay, and what happened is the student died. Okay, why? Because the mite, the worm, okay, that was inside the figs basically killed the person. Okay, they embed themselves very deeply, okay, and therefore you can't see it from the outside. New Mishnah. Okay, now we get to what we said again. The item and carrying out. Matnitin, says our Mishnah. Hamotzi kupat harochli. One who was to carry out a basket that belonged to a peddler or a merchant. Okay? Afal pi sheyesh ba minin habe. Even though it contains a variety of items, a number of commodities, right? Eino chayav elech katechat. He is only subject, if he carries it from one domain to the next, to bring a single chatas. Okay? Zarune gina. Let's say in the basket, okay, there's a variety of garden seeds. Pachot mikigogeret. If it's less than the amount, is less than a dried fig. Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera Omer Chamisha. All right? But Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera says no, if there's at least 5 there. All right? Zara kishuin shnayim. And if it's cucumber seed, it's 2. Zera diluin. And if it's the seed of gourds, 2. Shnayim. Zera pul hamitzri. And if it's seeds of Egyptian beans, okay, shnayim, it's 2, okay. Now, the Gemara then continues, right? What else could he carry out? Chagav chai, if it's live locust, live kosher locusts, right? Tahor, right? Kol shahu, any amount, okay, whatever the size. Mate, if they're dead kosher locusts, Kigrogeret, okay, if there's enough there to the size of a fig bulb, right? Now, says the Gemara, Tziporet Kramim, we have this animal, okay, which Rishonim have difficulty explaining, and the Steinsaltz Koren suggests that this is a kind of Egyptian locust that grow very large and often attack and feast on grape vineyards. And it's so large that gets the name, the bird of the vineyards. Bein chaya, bein meta, whether it is alive or dead, kol shehu, of any amount, shematzni'in ota, the refu'ah. Why? Because people save these or hold on to these and use it for some medicinal purposes. Right? That would be Rabbi Yehuda Omer, af hamotzi chagav chai tamei. Even if one would be chayav, even if they were to carry out a live, non-kosher locust, right? They would be chayav, kol shehu, of any size. Why? Shematzni'in oto lekatan l'schokbo, because they would save it and put it aside for a child to be able to play with it. Gemara. Our Gemara says, Uminhu. Okay, and man, he will challenge this with a braita. Zevel. We have an example of manure. The chol hadak, and fine sand. Kadela zavel kelach shel kruv. We have the braita that said that you would only be chayav in these items if it was enough to fertilize a small bundle of cabbage. Divrei Rabbi Akiva, right? A stack of cabbage. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. The Chachomim Omrim, and the sages disagree, saying lekadei lezavel krisha, even less size, because it's enough to fertilize a leek plant. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, ha de zaria, ha de lo zaria. Okay, in one case, this is seeds to be sown. Okay, in another case, it's seeds that aren't going to be sown. Lefi she'ein adam torech lahotzi nima achat lezriya. Why? Because a person doesn't go to the effort, to the trouble of carrying out a single seed for the purpose of sowing seeds. Zera kishuim, he talked about cucumber seeds. Tanu Rabbanan, he said the brightest. Misha said it was two, says Braita, Tan Rabbanan. Hamotzi Garinim, one who carries out, transfers date pits, okay, in this case. Im Lenetia, if it's for the purpose of planting, Shtayim, then two are enough to make the person chayav. Im La'achila, if it's for the purpose of eating, Kimalo Pi Chazir, then it's enough that would fill the mouth of a pig. The common Malo Pi Chazir, and how much is the amount to fill the mouth of a pig? Echat, even one. Im Lahasik, however, if the person carried out for the purpose of burning these date pits for fuel, Kadei levashel beit sakala, then it's got to be enough in order to cook a small egg. Okay, im lecheshbon. Okay, and if we're saying that he carried them out for the purpose of doing some sort of calculating, okay, some sort of mathematical measurements, okay? Shtayim, again, a minimum of two. Acherim omrim chamesh, others say 5. Okay? Tanu Rabbanan, a new braita. Hamotzi shnei nimin mizanav hasus, one who carries out 2 hairs from the tail of a horse, umizanav hapara, or from the cow's tail. Okay, chayav would be held obligated. Shematzneinotam tavin. Why? Because they set those aside and use them for traps to capture birds. Okay. Mekasheh, if it's a shel chazir, if it's the hair from hard, okay, a thick, tight, a stiff hair from that of a pig, echat, it's just one. Okay, tsuri dekel, if we're talking about palm vines, okay, 2, ture dekel, okay, and others say, I'm sorry, if we're talking about tsure dekel, there that's pieces of the palm tree. Okay, that's 2. Ture dekel, if we're talking about some vines hanging from the palm tree, echat, that's 1. Okay,
This is all,
back now.
Rabbi, this is all if it's being carried on Shabbos.
Right. All these items, right. Tzipurit kramim, and we come back to that large Egyptian locust, bein chaya, bein meta kol shehu, whether it's alive or dead, any size. Ma'itziport kramim. So Gemara asks, what is this animal, right? Amar Rav Palya Be'eri Amar Abai, right? So Rav says, okay, that it is Palya Be'eri, okay, which basically, okay, if you search the forests, you can find this kind of large locust. Amar Abai, okay, says Abai, umishtakach bedikla techad nevera. He says you find it, okay, Abai says in palm trees where there's only one covering, all right? Va'avdela lechuchma. And they use it for a kind of talisman. Achille b'palga diyamine. Okay, that what happens is a person actually eats the one side of the animal, the right side of the animal, upalga d'smalia, and the left side of this, rami le begufta the nechasha. One pushes it in, sticks it in to a copper tube. B'chatim la b'shitin gushpanke, and one seals the tube with 60 seals, in other words, many, many seals, right? V'tale la be'ivra desmola, and one then hangs it on their left arm, right? V'smi simanach, and the symbol, the token of this is Lev Chacham Liyamino, V'Lev Kasil L'Smolo. The heart of a wise man's heart's on the right, but a fool's heart is on the left. The Chachim Kama Dabaye, asks the Gemara, and how much wisdom, okay, does he want to acquire? Can one, as much as, right? The Gamar Kama Dabaye, and he can gain as much as he desires. V'achile le'idach palga, and then he eats the other half. Okay, what happens? Okay, the ilo mi'akar talmuda, and if he doesn't eat eventually the other half, he loses his learning. Okay, sounds a little gross, I know. Okay.
There was a time, I don't know whether it's still going on or not long ago, a lot of people were wearing copper bracelets. Just a copper ring.
Right, talisman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Rabbi Yehuda says, Afhamot sichule. Rabbi Yehuda says, even remember, he said, even if one takes out a non-kosher locust, but Tana Kama Savar, lo, and Tana Kama implies that's not the case. Ma'itama. What's his reasoning? Dilma achilwe. Perhaps he might eat it. Ihachi, if that's the case, tahor nami. Then even in a kosher, okay, this should be the case that you shouldn't. The harav kahana havakaim kame derav. As in the case where Rav Kahana was standing before Rav, vahava ma'avar shushiva. Okay. Apume, and he passed a long-headed kosher locust by his mouth. Amarle, and he responded to him, Shakle, remove it. Okay? Delo limre michal ka'achile, that people won't say that you eat something that's abominable, that's terrible. The ka'avar, right? And therefore you're violating the law, Baal Tishaktsu et Nafshotechem, and that prohibits you to make yourself abominable. Right? Ela Dilma Ma'id Va'achile. So rather we say perhaps the live locust will die and then one might eat it. But Rabbi Yehuda, Imayit if the locust as a play item for the child were to die, katan mispad sapidle. Then the child would say a eulogy for the locust, and he would cry over it. Okay. All right. Hadran alach amar Rabbi Akiva. So we finish that parak. Okay. We'll start the new Mishnah and a little bit of the Gemara. Okay. These are long amudim, so that's why we're doing what we can. Okay. Again, remember we said earlier that we were only focusing on the measurement. Okay. What about if the item is something that's substantial, if it's important for the person, and that's why they were going to set it aside, okay, and move it from one domain to another, okay, right? So here, this is going to deal with the manner in which the items are carried out, okay, all right. Hamatznia lezara, okay, one who has put something aside, okay, for the purpose, let's say seeds, for the purpose of sowing. Uladugma, or they put something aside to have a sample, okay? Remember, we talked about the dye, and they would hold up, they would put a piece of the cloth on the loom, okay? L'refuah, or for the purpose of medicine. V'hotzio b'Shabbat. Here, Ted, you see specifically the Mishnah, okay, again refers, and one transferred it, carried it out on the Shabbos, chayav, b'chol shahu. Okay, he would be obligated, in other words, guilty, culpable, okay, no matter the size, okay? Because by setting it aside, he shows it's significant. It has value for him. Okay, now we go on. The kol adam, okay, and any person. And I put into the Mishnah here the word acher, and any other person, to better understand this Mishnah. Ein chayav alav, would not be guilty in regard to it. Ela kishiuro, unless it was based on, in other words, if somebody else carried out that set aside item, unless he carried it out in the minimum shiur, appropriate minimum shiur. Okay, right? Chazar v'hichniso ve'eno chayav ela kishiuro. Now, if that person carries it back and then takes it out again, it only would be chayav if he did it based on the minimum shiur that we've seen in the past Mishnayot. Gemara, says the Gemara, lama leila mitnei hamatzneya. Why did we have to teach that it was based on somebody putting something aside, right? Storing it. Litnei hamotzi lazera. Simply teach one who carries it out for the purpose of sowing. Uladugma, or for an example. Ularefuah, or for medicine. Chayav b'chol shu. Okay, would be obligated for carrying out any amount. Amar Abaye. Says Abaye, hacha b'mai yaskinan. What are we really talking about here? Kigon shehitzniyo. It's a situation where the person set it aside. V'shachach lama hitzniyo. And he forgot why he set it aside. Like some of us here in Century Village might forget something, right? Okay. Vahashta kamafik le stama. And here he simply goes and carries it out in general, right? And without specifying the purpose. Let's just go over to the top of Tzadi Aleph for a moment. Mahu detema. What might you say? Right? betule batla machshavto. You might say that since he knocked it out of his head, in other words, his intention was canceled, okay, he should not be held responsible whatsoever. Kamash Malan comes to teach us that that's not the case. All right, Kol ha'oseh al dat rishona hu oseh. Okay, but rather we say that he does it based on his original purpose, and therefore that's why the individual would be considered chayav. Okay? And we're going to stop right there for today. Okay, guys? Everybody stay well and take care. Have a good day.
We were last, when last I was following, we were trying to figure out, I was trying to, how many times Moshe was going up and down the mountain.
Yes.
And now how did
Right.
we make it?
That was all dealing with the drushes, right, that dealt with Matan Torah, because we dealt with the question of the date for Shavuos. Okay, now we're back to the topics of our Masechet that deals with Shabbat, and we dealt with measurement of prohibition of transferring items from one domain. Now we're dealing with other aspects of that.
Okay, so the point where we went away from what we were studying is where we left to keep track of Moshe going up and down.
Yeah, that was a long digression.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Right.
But less than 40 years. Less than 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Rabbi Green. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Okay, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.